The November 21st meeting of the Manchester Planning and Zoning Commission will now come to order. First item on the agenda is review and approval of the October 17th, 2023 meeting minutes. You should have a copy of the minutes in your package. Everybody take a look at it, see if there are any corrections that need to be made.
I reviewed these at home, and I recommend approval.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, the zoning administrator's report. Michelle?
Okay, just to give a little update, Equine Meadows did get their permit for demo, and the silt fence is up, and they're gonna start taking down the buildings and the trees and the fence posts and everything out of there. And then their next project will be to go to the off-site work for that
Right.
storm drain. Maverick, just a brief on them before they stand up here. They gave their preliminary approval in May of '23. We were working on the decommissioning bond and the decommissioning plan, and we received notice today from Jen and Mary that they have received their final approval for stormwater management. They did receive their final for water resources maybe a week ago or
Yes.
two, so that's done.
Janet forwarded all the plans to us, so.
Yes. And Riley's Garden, all four of those houses have been permitted, so they're being built out right now. And for the comp plan 5-year review, we hired the consultant to help with that, who is looking at the first few chapters now, and then we'll get comments back to us, which we'll sit down and review together. Okay?
Thank you, Michelle. Alex?
Good evening, Commission. Just from the Administrator's Office, thank goodness we have rain tonight. I'm sorry you had to come out in this, but we need it. We're 12 inches down according to the county over the last year or so. We continue to be in voluntary restrictions, and we will remain that way until we can clear all of our pieces that are back up to normal. We do have one of our monitoring wells that had reached a new record low, so we have to stay in the voluntary conservation, and the residents have done very well to help us maintain a good water level. Along with that, the Baptist Road Tower has finished repairs today. We will restart filling that over the weekend. The wastewater treatment plant ENR upgrade is in design. We got last Tuesday, we got our first preliminary view of what they have put into it. It was just a handmade PDF with all the pieces, and it had a lot of the piping in it for movement of sewage, but it all looks really good. They're doing a great job of keeping the plant and its upgrade within its current footprint. So that's going well. We have meetings every first Tuesday of the month with CDM Smith, our engineering firm, and we're providing them with a lot of information. So we're really happy with the trek we're on with them. Along with that, we'll be going up to CDM Smith in Lancaster in January for our water hydraulic model for the town's water system. We're also going to probably talk to them a little bit about a sewer model as well, so we can plug in and plug out different things as we work on the water system and the sewer system to keep it all stable with all these upgrades. Along with that, we continue to look at water and sewer system upgrades and retrofits across the board so we can keep the system in good working order. Otherwise, the town is doing well and all is good. And thank you guys again for a great job this year. I appreciate it. Made
Thank
my
you,
first
Alex.
year real easy.
Michelle, Chris is not here tonight. Do we have anybody with council report?
So the council had its normal. Sorry, council had its normal meeting last week. The only items for approval was the PFAS preliminary engineering report that was given to GMB, and they will be doing a report for us on PFAS remediation within the water system. We also moved some money around to make the budget work with these different places for our reports, but otherwise it was just a normal business day and it went well. Nothing major to report.
Thank you, Alex.
Oh, we did have, I'm sorry, the important piece is we did have the student rep to the board, had her first report, and the young lady from Manchester Valley did very well.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Andrew, how are you this evening?
I am well, and you?
Doing well, thank you. What do you have from us for the county?
Just three things. The Transportation Master Plan was approved by the Carroll County Planning and Zoning Commission on November 14th. Also, the housing study on November 2nd, the Board of County Commissioners approved a consultant to start that study. And also for the Economic Development and Land Use Study, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard a report, a background on the study. On the 29th, we will be bringing back the consultant, so they can have basically a question and answer session with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then after that is all complete by the Planning and Zoning Commission, that'll go to the Board of County Commissioners for review in early December. And that is all I have. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Anybody have any questions for Andrew?
Thank you for the update.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Andrew. Next on the agenda is final approval for Maverick Solar.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dave Bowersox. I'm here on behalf of Maverick One. We're here for final approval. As Ms. Wilder mentioned previously, we're here for final approval. We've gotten all the necessary approvals from the county, including stormwater management. Now, mid-afternoon, Ms. Wilder and I spoke, and at that time, I was waiting for a return call from Janet O'Meara, who was looking into whether the letter from Mr. Covington had actually been prepared. I never heard back from her. I was assured by her and other county staff that he's given his word that it's been approved. And there's an email that came out this afternoon to Ms. Wilder has it, I believe you do. Where not just once, but multiple times, there's an indication of stormwater approval.
Yeah, Ms. O'Meara indicated that in the email.
Right. So we would ask for final approval tonight. If you want to condition it on receipt of the letter, that's understandable. A couple of other things. I know you're still working through the decommissioning report and bonding. That is something we can work out. I spoke about that with Ms. Wilder this afternoon as well. And there are no substantive issues remaining. This is an approved conditional use. We've been through the approval process with the town, and we thank the town for their guidance. We're asking for final approval with the conditions on receipt of the appropriate correspondence.
Now, Alex, this is not necessarily related to the plan, but there was some discussion and some concerns from the town regarding construction and construction access to the site. If you wanted to bring that up at this point, just to make Mr. Bowersox aware of some of the town's concerns in that regard.
Yeah, we've been in touch with the construction crews and their project managers, and due to the amount of material that they're gonna bring in and the weight of the trucks, there's a grave concern of the access to the site off Locust Street. Off Grafton Street.
Grafton.
Yeah, and so we'll have to, I spoke to a gentleman today, again, and we said we would have to sit down after approval, and as we start getting into the construction, we'd have to sit down and have an agreement on when they can have deliveries, how big the trucks are. So certainly York Street and Grafton, these heavy trucks certainly weren't in mind when these were originally built and sized. So we just have to work that out through a PWA agreement.
Okay. And you say you spoke with
I
someone?
believe it was Nick today. He said he was the project manager
Okay, for the contract?
for the company that's going to do the construction of the
Okay.
solar site. It was just a brief conversation. I didn't want to get into anything substantive. I just reminded him that you're right by an elementary school. Traffic in the morning is tough. So 53-foot trailers, 3 triaxle dump trucks with aggregate, it's going to be a little much. Plus, we have to give the residents notice that these vehicles may be coming down the street, clear that. There's a lot to do, but we can work that out certainly
All right,
as we
you can
move
serve
forward.
to Grafton and York.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah, I just thought that was important to make
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Bowersox aware of that. That's not necessarily contingent on us approving the plan. This is something outside of that realm, but
No, but it's very much
wanted to make you
appreciated.
aware of that, so. Does anybody on the board have any questions about the plan at this time?
The only question I have is the decommissioning plan, and at what point should this be finalized? Before anything begins? Before final approval?
The,
Because there's still some questions about
the
this.
decommissioning plan and the commissioning bond need to be done prior to a building permit being
Okay.
given
Right.
out.
It's my understanding, again, from speaking with Ms., with Ms. Wilder this afternoon, that Mr. McCarron's reviewing the package that was provided. We're happy to work with them to resolve any questions he has. I noted one apparent typo today, but that's not going to be insurmountable by any means.
But Dale, to answer your question, no building permit until the plan is approved.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.
Chris, any other concerns from you?
No, my concerns were answered. I guess it's gonna be handled by a PWA agreement, which,
Okay.
because I can't see how you're gonna make that turn at Grafton with a tractor trailer and not take out some lawns, but maybe, maybe they can. But yeah, as long as that's handled through the PWA and has nothing to do with this,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, is anybody ready to make a motion regarding the plan for Maverick Solar?
I'll make a motion, we approve Maverick Solar's plan contingent on getting the letter from
Martin Covington.
Martin Covington.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the plan contingent on receiving the stormwater management approval letter from Martin Covington. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Patapsco 91 LLC concept review.
Good evening, Kelly Miller, 73 East Main Street, Westminster, Maryland, 21157. I'm here tonight on behalf of Patapsco 91. We do have one of the owners, Shane, in the back with us to answer any questions of him, but I think mostly it's going to be for me and Linda. Linda Alexander is here as well from CLSI. So we understand that tonight we're here for concept review of a subdivision plan. There's no action being requested of you. This is the very first look that you've had at this subdivision plan, aside from being familiar with it from the annexation process that it went through in recent history. So as you heard through the annexation process and as you see before you here today, there are 14 proposed lots as part of this subdivision plan. There are two points of access, if you will. The one kind of lot will access Jammer Drive, and the others will access off of Briar Way. So I'm going to let Linda speak to some specifics of the plan. I understand that you all have copies in front of you, but we're just here tonight to hear any initial comments you have, concerns you have, anything that we can talk through before we continue in the design of this plan.
sort of how we're laying this out. It has a lot of restrictions as far as the access points and just the overall layout. So we've done a couple things and we've taken some consideration. We're showing use in commons, but they're 16-foot wide. They're not 12s. And they have cul-de-sacs at the end of them that are very similar to a cul-de-sac that goes on any public street, okay? But they're private, so they're not maintained by the county. We've taken the problems that you've had on certain other use in commons, and we've tried to facilitate the fact that we've made them larger, wider. You can get 2 cars down through them. They're not super long either, however, we still took the consideration of that. The houses themselves, even though the houses look like they're close, the houses themselves are all double-car garages, and they have at least space to park at least 2 to 3 cars in their driveways. So the driveways are long enough that they wouldn't have to be parking along the use in commons if they had any type of parties. Now, one of the reasons that there's no guarantee that this layout's going to look like this when we start doing stormwater management design and grading design, but we wanted to bring it to you first to make sure we weren't wasting our time starting to design stormwater and trying to submit to the county and doing all the different agencies we have to do, having all that time spent without any type of input ahead of time, you know what I mean? So one of the other things that we added, because this was some questions that we had, and we know that there's been some questions from the adjoining property owners, we have added landscape screening. Even though the grade differential may not need it, we've added landscape screening along, let me see where I'm at, the north side, along the backs of those lots. Those houses are very small that we're backing up against. There are some trees there already. We've come in and we've decided that once we do the grading, we would come back and replace that with a screening type of situation. Probably it's known as a type A, but it's a heavy pine and deciduous type of screening that the county would require anyway underneath their landscape ordinance. We've done that on 2 sides to basically mitigate the fact that we have houses siding along those lots as well as backing up along those lots. We did not necessarily continue it the whole way down because we're up against a stormwater management facility. So we've tried to do that. We anticipate that the water is going to come in. We're going to have to build the road coming in that's not built right now, and that the water would come in that direction. The sewer, we may need to run the sewer down through to get to the sewer may come down through that conservation zone if we had to. We had discussions with Steve years ago about getting that sewer down through there. So the sewer hasn't completely been worked out. But again, until we get some idea of what the town is going to agree to with the layout, it is too early in the process to do that portion of it. Now, one of the other items that we might as well bring out since we're doing concept is, I'm sure everybody is aware that the road is not built to the property right now. The right-of-way that's currently controlled by the town is only 40 feet wide. Currently, that subdivision has sidewalks on both sides of the road. Physically looking at the slope that's across that right-of-way that's coming in there, I'm not sure whether a road that the town normally would put in this type of subdivision and sidewalks on both sides of that road are going to fit, given that there's no easements to construct that road right now that the town controls. So what I've done is we've showed a sidewalk on the low side that we believe we could construct for the piece that's not constructed now, and then when we get onto our property, we would loop the sidewalk around and have sidewalk on both sides. Physically, I'm just not sure until we get farther into it if that small portion of sidewalk could be built, given the way that road is not constructed in there right now, and it was never done when they did it. And when you look at the slopes and the fencings, that's right, the people have fences almost right up to the right-of-way and that type of thing. I'm not sure if it could be built the whole way around. So we tried to do as best we could, grading-wise and sidewalk-wise, but there is a segment there that may not be able to be connected.
So what you would propose, a crosswalk at the end of
Yes.
Briar at Washington?
Yes, which is
With the
basically
traffic.
set up for that. There's ramps there now.
Yeah.
So there would be a crosswalk there. And then if any of the interior people here would want to walk out to that, they would just walk around the cul-de-sac and come out through there.
Now, regarding drives A and B, you said these were going to be private,
Yes.
so what kind of funding mechanism is going to be in place, if any, for maintenance of those roads? Snow plowing improvements, is going to be an HOA?
Yes.
Okay.
There'll be an HOA set up to maintain the roads, maintain the landscaping. Obviously, it's not the sidewalks, but the rest of it. Yeah, so there would be an HOA set up for that.
What kind of grade are we looking at these houses sitting on? I mean, I'm looking at 50 scale plan here, I'm looking at contour intervals, you know, you've got slope there, it looks, some places, you know, 12 to 14%, and then on the back of like lot 13, we're looking at significant grade right there. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, that's over 20%.
They
so-
meet most of these meet they all have walkouts, obviously, you know, what I mean, to pick them up. That's one of the questions we're gonna end up with, whether we would, right now, this is just graded really rough, just to see if we're gonna lose anything even on grading. Would there need to be some walls put in place? Maybe, but those walls would be completely private situations.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now, I can't stand these houses that are built on the side of a hill. You got a little flat terrace for the house, and then the backyard pitches down 20%.
Yeah.
It's unusable, and I don't think it looks particularly good, to be honest with you. So.
At this point, we
I think you
haven't
need
put
to be
any walls.
cognizant of
Yeah.
looking at that.
Yeah, at this point, there's no walls in place to facilitate that, but then there's also no stormwater management in place either, short of the pond at the very bottom, so.
Yeah, and that was another thing I was going to ask about with current stormwater management regs. They don't typically like larger facilities, concentrated flows coming to one spot. I see you have some swales directing water to a facility. What are you envisioning down there?
So the swales would be more of a bioswale or a grass swale,
Okay.
okay, that would come across the backs. I don't know that we would be doing dry wells here, because most of this is in fill. That area down at the bottom where that stormwater facility is would lend itself to a submerged gravel
Well,
wetlands.
that's why I was asking, where you going to
Yes.
go bioretention or submerged
Yeah,
gravel?
we would be doing more of the submerged gravel wetland situation, which would allow us to catch any of the water quality in that, not just water quantity, before we would go into that protected area. Keep in mind that,
That's a use 3 drainage in there, isn't it? That's trout water.
yes, so
So you're going to have
again,
to, you're going to have to manage for use 3 standards and keep
Yes.
thermal impacts
yes.
out of the.
Now, the other thing with that is that most of that area down below there is gonna be protected by easements, because
Yeah.
under the forest conservation,
And I see you're proposing planting down there.
yes,
So you're going to
we would be
establish
beefing it
the
up.
county
Mhm.
stream buffer. Now, the buffer that you have set here, it looks like you're just holding a 25-foot buffer off the wetlands. Have you, is
Those
there,
are
I haven't walked the site, is there a stream down in that
There
bottom?
is a weird-looking little thing that probably tonight is a stream.
Yeah, well, if
And
there's
you know,
if there's
it
a
was not-
channel, the only reason I'm asking is that, and you're going to be looking at a variable stream.
I believe we're gonna end up with a variable stream
Stream
buffer
buffer
on it, even if
analysis
it's not a
on it.
stream there, because
Yeah.
we're gonna be forced to put it over the wetlands
Yeah.
and the buffer. Along with that, there would be forest conservation that would be planted, because it would be considered a priority area. The only thing that would potentially go through that area and that would need to be permitted is the sewer connection.
Yeah.
Which utility, it would be a wetlands permit, waterways or whatever to get down through there, yeah.
Does the forest on site meet the afforestation threshold, or are you under that as well?
We are,
I don't know if you have 20% there or
there is,
not.
the forest on site is questionable as to whether it would classify as forestry. So it's gonna end up being planted to meet the 20% threshold, and then whatever else
Yeah.
we would tear out. So it's gonna be more.
Yeah, because you've got 14 acres out there in essence, so you're going to have 2.8 acres of forest at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
If not more in some cases, just because we're gonna be forced to put that buffer in place too,
Yeah.
or forced to put that buffer in.
well, yeah, ultimately, but you'll
Yeah.
be required to plant two acres.
Now, this is not gonna be, when this thing goes in for, the MTPDS permit, that type of thing, it's gonna need it's gonna be a full study
Yeah.
based on everything that's going on.
Now, this parcel B, this remainder, who's going to,
That's still up in the air
okay.
on whether the town would want that based on the fact that it's gonna have the forestry and the easements on it. Being that it's gonna be sitting next to that, or I would hate to put it with one of the lots, but it could end up with the homeowners association as well. It's probably gonna be impacted almost exclusively by easements by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, because you're showing that stormwater management facility on that same parcel.
Yes. Well, the stormwater management
Well,
facility
you're
is
gonna
probably
put
gonna end up with
you're gonna put a
parcel.
stormwater easement over that. so-
Yes, either that or a
Gotcha.
parcel, depending on what the status of the parcel is, yeah.
Okay.
We would hope that the stormwater that's uplands of this, any of the swales and stuff, would be handled more on a private basis on each individual or by the homeowners. It would not be something that would need to happen, that would need parcels around it or something like that.
Yeah.
We're not a fan of putting microbios in, just because the maintenance on the homeowners, as well as if they're not maintained, they can become little mosquito fests. So our company tends to try to stick with the grass swales, the bioswales that can be maintained easily, and don't have, quote, standing water that potentially could be in them for extended periods of time if they're not maintained correctly, so.
Alex, how are the private facilities in town currently maintained? I'm assuming we have some under homeowners association.
That's correct.
Any issues to date with maintenance? Or just have they even maintained them, I guess is the question.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we did, pretty much, there's just been minor things here and there, nothing that you wouldn't normally expect.
So we're
But they're
doing,
mowed.
we're doing regular inspections on them.
Yes,
Good.
the county does,
Good.
does very well.
And one nice thing with the submerged gravel wetlands, is it doesn't require quite as much maintenance as these other facilities would.
Now, I know we don't necessarily want anybody down in the picture per se, but has any thought been given to a community amenity on this parcel, be a trail system, something for these?
No, that's what we're here for, to see if you,
I
we've
mean,
not done
I
any
don't
of that.
think that would be a bad thing to look into.
We're not really
You've got all
sure.
these homeowners here and, other than their lots, what are they being offered? If it's community, there ought to be some community amenity, even if it's just a passive trail running, an out and back of some sort,
That's
looping
fine.
around for people to go out and walk in the evenings and, go around and look at nature. I don't think that's a bad thing. So, that's just a suggestion.
We'll certainly take a look at that.
Yeah, that's not an issue.
And I guess your reason for the private drives is you just don't want to eat up that much right away for a public road?
Yeah. You can't make if you think about when you're coming in, we did look at potentially curving the road.
No, I'm looking at the grades, and it's difficult. That's why I brought that issue up with
The private
houses.
drives allow us to meet that grade issue. Trying to bring a road in there and curve the road, either direction you go, it just doesn't physically, mathematically work to keep the curve.
Yeah.
And the grade is just not workable with a public road. And as I said, until we start, depending on what the outcome of this is, depends on whether we're gonna start really putting hard numbers on the stormwater and seeing how that works.
Yeah, I'd like to see, just preliminary grading, some of these lots are a little bit steep. I wouldn't mind seeing a little more effort to try to flatten them. I'm not a big fan of private roads, but given that you've increased the width and looking at the grade, I am sympathetic to the fact that you can't really,
We tried to mitigate the smaller driveways that you all have been having problems with by making them larger. We found that in other communities in Carroll County, even though they're larger lots, there are several larger subdivisions, and we're working on some of the ones now that we're putting 16-foot wide use in commons in. Even longer than this, just because the 12-footers just aren't working, so. And we're putting loops in front of instead of those T turnarounds that it's hard for anybody to back into, so.
yeah, the new planning and design standards frown on cul-de-sacs, but unfortunately, it seems like most people like them. Homeowners seem to like cul-de-sacs.
I like to live at the end of a street and
They
not
like
have
to
to
live at the
have
end of
through
the street.
traffic.
And parking on the private drives is prohibited?
Not necessarily. We just mitigated the fact that I know that they were having problems when you have a 12-foot wide driveway and you have a party or something, and you have people parking on a 12-foot wide, you can't get past. It's not prohibited necessarily, but we tried to make sure that the way that the configuration is, that you can get at least 4 cars in these driveways before you have to deal with anything on the driveway. And you could still park on the driveway and still get 1 car past on it 16-foot wide.
And it's not the party I'm concerned with. Most
No.
of our neighborhoods, parking on the street's prohibited, but if you're having a party, police are not gonna bother
Right,
anybody.
but no.
It's the routine people who wanna park on the street.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
I think that should be prohibited.
that could certainly be put in the homeowners documents, association documents.
Linda, I hate to
Oh,
ask
sorry.
this because I should know it, but is Washington Way, is that 20-foot paved? Going in there?
Yes, it is, and believe it or not, the road that's built so far up into this is intended to be 20-foot wide. When you actually scale it and when you measure it in the
Okay.
field, it's kind of angled right now, but if you square it up, it's only 20-foot wide. Mountable curb.
So there should be, technically, there should be room to do sidewalk on both sides.
The problem is that Washington Way is 50 feet wide, and this right-of-way is only 40.
Yeah, the road paving's 20, it's a 20 on a 50. This
Yeah,
is
on
40.
Washington Way, it's 50.
And if it was flatter, it might be able to get,
It would get it if it was flatter, but there's almost 4 foot of fall, 4 or 5 foot of fall across that right-of-way right now in 40 feet. I was shocked when I went in and looked at the plat that the right-of-way was only 40 feet.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I even went looking to see if there was an amended plat, and it's not. It's only 40. But I did show a 20-foot coming in, and the 20-foot coming in on a 40 is starting to really, with a mountable and then trying to put sidewalk in. If the grade was flatter, it would fit, but it's gonna be a question.
And are you showing in these cul-de-sacs, they're just open, there's nothing in the middle of them?
On the cul-de-sacs on the Houston Commons, I do have grass in the middle, but that's negotiable, you know. I do have a grass that keeps them, you know, like a little grass island in the middle that a lot of times we'll put stormwater
Yeah,
management in,
just-
but
I was just wondering if it was something
right now they are.
concrete.
I didn't
know?
bring the big scale.
Something a little more,
Yeah, those things are as big as almost as big as a cul-de-sac, and the lanes that go around the loops at the end are 20 feet wide, not 16. So as you come into that cul-de-sac, it's 20 foot wide, which should get the Amazon trucks, the UPS trucks, those type of things. Now, of course, all the trash pickup would be,
Out.
the intention of the trash pickup would be at the curb on the same type of trash, I don't want to call it, the trash pad that the county requires as standard, that has the mailbox, the junction mailbox type of thing. That would be the type of thing that we would propose for these.
oh, they wouldn't
If
have their
possible.
individual trash cans to take out for pickup?
The way the county does it is they have individual trash, but they created this, I want to say 15-foot long, concrete area,
All the
pad
cans
area.
go
That's
in
about
one
5
area.
feet wide or whatever. They put all the cans in one location.
Oh, okay, their
yeah,
cans are.
everybody brings
I
the
got you.
As
individual
opposed to them
cans.
just kind of throwing them at the road.
Okay.
They're controlled right there, yeah. Because this road doesn't allow itself to have tons of, you know, individual people, so that would be controlled there. As well as the mailboxes would be controlled at the end. That would be what our proposal would be, to keep the county standard.
Chris?
I don't know how I feel. Honestly, it's a very, very tough grade to deal with everything. I mean, you're just gonna be fighting it the entire process. I don't like using common driveways at all, but, again, it's the grade.
Yeah.
You can't,
Yeah.
can't do road, you can't do a road. So, that's what I'm saying,
It's a tough site.
yeah, it's
I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
it's a very, very tough site.
Now, the
Challenge.
advantage, there's a large area of open space that will be
Yeah.
left undisturbed, which I think is a good thing. And
Now, lot 14, they're gonna live like a king up there, but.
Yeah. So
Down
there's
there.
already an existing access coming off of there for the house that's back there. So we have the ability to still use that legal access, but it's only allowed for one house.
One
I mean,
house.
we
Yeah.
can't put more. So yeah, I mean, that lot's
That's
pretty
a
big over there, but,
lot, yeah. So I want to say something positive. And
okay.
And that's it.
Okay, 1 out of
That's-
14, I'll
there you
take
go.
it,
That's
okay?
a lucrative lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's my concern, is just, I want to see a little more of how this grades out. Like I said, I think the road layout is probably as good as we can do under these circumstances, at least preliminarily. It looks reasonable. You've given us extra width on those private driveways instead of a 12-foot problem.
16 will be nice, yeah.
Yeah, 16 will give you room. And you've widened the cul-de-sac so that trucks can get around.
Would it be amenable if we would, now this grading was done to give a basic idea, but we could detail the grading more about what we think it would look like. You know what I mean, like,
Yeah,
just
I'd
put
like-
more effort into it, and we could put it at a larger scale.
I'd like
I
to-
mean, if you're cool with, I'm not gonna say cool, but we could take the plan we have and we could do a second sheet and just focus in on strictly the lots itself with more grading detail. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
some
I'd
slopes
I'd
and
like
stuff
to-
like
yeah,
that,
I'd
that
like
you would be able to see. Okay,
Like to see a better idea of the stormwater management, what's ultimately going to come out of all that.
we could do two
I mean,
things.
I don't expect a full-blown stormwater, but
But just an idea of where we intend to
Right.
try to get it, yeah, okay.
are you looking at balancing this site somehow? Or are you going to be,
I don't
are you
believe
gonna
this
be-
site's gonna balance,
that's my,
okay? I don't think there's a chance in, that it's balancing, no.
are you going to have to bring in?
Paul,
So I thought,
but there's a fine line between how much you haul in before you start hitting the wetlands and the impact as you're going down there too.
right.
So, but yeah, we could definitely come in and do a second sheet to this and take just that area, do some more intense detail grading, and then give a better idea of where we would propose concept stormwater for. Not do the calculation, I mean, we could do a fast calculation, but not to the extent that we're required to do for the county.
No, but I would look at like lot one, that coming out the side of that lot is pretty steep. I'd look to see if you couldn't flatten the backside facing the conservation area
Oh,
out
yes,
a little
yes.
bit and maybe doing a small wall down at the edge of the lot or something like that to
I had actually
give
thought
these
about.
people some usable land out there.
I had actually thought about moving those all back farther too, potentially taking them and lengthening that a little bit, but
Yeah, I just don't want to create ugly lots from a grade standpoint. Larry, you have any comments?
I think you got them,
Okay.
yeah, I got them covered.
Now, I see we have some citizens out in the audience. Do anybody have any comments? Can you come up to the mic, please? Okay, can you give us your name?
My name's Gary Chamberlain Senior.
Okay,
I live on Jamer Drive. When you come off of Susan Ann to get into that lot 14, how you gonna come down Jamer Drive? Are they gonna have access because of that being steep there? Or are you gonna turn more into my house? Is that gonna be widened so I can get in and out of there? And these properties, then I can see that where the lane used to come from the farmhouse up past my property. So these people coming off of this Briar Way are not gonna have any access to that road in any way. Is that all gonna be blocked off? And then this lot 14 just comes off Jamer Drive?
that's how it's being proposed at this point, yes,
So
sir.
there's not gonna be any connection?
No,
Okay, because my concern is if we have all these people trying to use that little road the way it is, and I realize I'm only one house that uses that road, I still don't want to be blocked, because just like I was at the last meeting that I attended with the police commissioner sitting here, you say no parking on the streets. You go into that property that comes on Susan Ann Drive, There's people parked on that road all the time. And there's police that live in that community, Manchester Farms. They don't issue tickets. You got a guy up here on this Crystal, whatever the hell that thing is. He's got a boat out in front of his house, right where it says no parking. Nothing's being done. So that's my concern with all these added houses. And then my concern is like you, all that grading, okay? Because just like the property, I have what used to be a flat field where the farmer made hay. I now have to drive out and look at a 50-foot hill. And that's what's going to happen over here. But as long as they don't have access, then I'll be satisfied. But again, I want to know how that Jamer Drive and then a portion that comes down that is actually my drive, how that's going to be affected. Is that going to be a 20-foot wide road, or how are these people going to get to this house? Are they just going to come 10 feet into Jamer Drive and turn into their home, or are they going to come and make that turn and then come in? How are they going to have
Why don't you come
access?
up and address that, Linda?
I'm not trying to be a hard ass.
No,
don't get me
no,
wrong.
we appreciate your comments.
Say,
intention-
if they're going to come in here, are they going to have access here, or are they going to come down?
No, what's gonna happen here is the access would be, from here to here, wherever they chose to build the driveway. There would not be any access on this. Matter of fact, this here, which I don't even know if it's completely on this property or yours.
It's on
but
mine.
It is, there's no access proposed here at all.
Okay,
Okay?
yes, ma'am.
It would be here, and the only reason I say here is I don't even know where, this house needs to stay out of this swale, so the house would be here, so the driveway would be over here.
Yes, okay.
Now, if it becomes an issue, there's nothing to say that we couldn't make this lot smaller and keep a strip in here so they can't
Oh,
access
no, I'm
it,
not
but
worried
no,
about making
no.
it smaller.
But there's
I'm
no
just worried about the
intention-
access.
Yeah, there's no
okay?
intention that any access, even for stormwater maintenance and stuff, is all gonna come through the subdivision. Nothing's gonna come up this driveway.
Okay.
The only thing that's coming there is there. We're taking a house down that used to access back here and we're putting it there. So it's only one access.
Okay, all right, then that satisfies me.
Okay.
Is that going to be widened?
No, it's just, we're not
Just gonna
doing
stay the way it
just gonna
is?
stay- We're not touching the driveway.
Okay,
No,
all
there's
right,
no
then
intention
that
of touching
answers,
it.
thank you.
No problem.
Any other comments?
No, just like you, I'm just, even though that would not be part of mine, would be, how, if you ever walk that, I'm surprised how far it would be pushed this way. I thought everything would be just up a little closer, not down at what I call the marsh, all the swampy, okay? Now, you're talking about, you want to have them have access to walk around. Are you talking about around the property or down? How are you talking about your little footpath?
Well, I was just thinking back in the back end of parcel B down on the slope somewhere. Maybe have a little area just outside that
Yeah,
wetland.
I'm like you, boring people, you sit there and say, hey, all you have now is your lot. Although, I don't know, that's what people want nowadays. It's just a big house and don't worry about the lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's up to you guys, okay? If it was me, I wouldn't be buying any of it, okay? I'm staying where I am until they're boxing me in, okay? I have my little oasis, but I'm starting to really be boxed in. You might be able to buy my property and build 20 houses on it. All right, well, I thank you for your time.
And we'll keep you informed and attend the meetings as this moves forward. We'd like your input.
All right, thank you.
Yes, please come up to the mic
I can't find Jeremy Drive.
and state your name.
Okay.
For the record.
My name is Georgette Benson. I live on Washington Way. My concern and my neighbor's concern are the trees that are in the back of our lots. Some of our property goes back there, but there are some beautiful trees there. There's a beautiful cherry tree there, dogwoods. We're concerned about them being just leveled and then putting trees someplace else to compensate.
Okay, so you're the property right there behind proposed lot, in front of proposed lot 3.
Well, like, oh, wait a minute.
Yes, you're the second house over from
I'm the
where
second house
Briar Way
over.
would come in.
Right,
Yes.
from Briar Way.
Yes, okay. So you have concerns about the natural
The
landscaping
natural
that's right.
landscape, the trees, there is a beautiful cherry tree there. It's also a dogwood, apple tree, beautiful thick trees. It is pretty, and we are concerned. Our property, some of my property goes back into the woods, but most of it does not.
Yes, okay.
In fact, we're maintaining, I think, what we thought was town property.
Yeah, parcel C of the town owns.
Yeah.
There's town property there. Are the trees on the town's property, or are they on this property?
Some of them are on our property, but I'm talking about the cherry tree is on the town's property, I think.
Well, if it's on the town's property, it won't be disturbed.
Okay. It's right in back of our home.
So it may be on the town property.
And hopefully it's on the town property.
Yeah. But we'll take your concern, and
Yes.
obviously the developer's representative is here about trying to maintain natural landscaping
Yeah.
along that perimeter where possible.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Alex, did you have something? Okay. Any other comments from the board at this point? Any other citizen comments?
I think we covered a lot.
You think you have enough marching orders to move forward? Yes, we're good. Okay. Okay, our pleasure. Anybody else with any other business that needs to be transacted tonight? Anybody got anything else to bring up? If not, I just like to wish the citizens of Manchester a very happy Thanksgiving, and I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned.